the PowerPoint up.
So beautiful. We have lots of women joining right now. So giving a few more moments for everybody to join. Please remember to keep your microphone muted during the call. And yes. Beautiful. Welcome everybody to this 13 Roses Sacred Sexuality activation. It's so beautiful to see so many of you actually joining right now, that this topic has resonated to so many people, so many women. It's absolutely beautiful. So welcome everybody. My name is Trine Siller, so I am your host tonight. And yeah, this session will be recording, so you know. So after the session has ended, you will all receive the recording to your email addresses. And also feel free to share and write in the chat. So the chat is open and you can just share your impressions and whatever is coming up for you during this session. And yeah, we are getting ready to dive into topic. So if you have any candle nearby, you can light your candle, have a shawl on, just feel yourself, get yourself really comfortable. And I hope that you're in a place where you won't be also disturbed. But I would like to now introduce our talker, so our Colette, who is holding this class tonight. So Colette is the priestess of ancestral womb wisdom, and she is the teacher of the feminine mysteries and psychospirituality. So welcome, Colette. The floor is yours, and yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Trinu, and hello, everybody. Yes, I think the call has been heard. I have been so excited this week as floods of women have joined to this call. And I'm hoping that you all get in. I know we're capped in the hundreds and more join this call than Zoom allows, actually. So I'm hoping that the people that don't get on the call have the privy of coming into the recording later on. You're very much included into the energy. So I just want to say a big heartfelt hello to all of you that know who I am and who've worked with me, and those of you that have never worked with me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here tonight. And this is, I think, the epitome and the bowl of the work that I have come from for many years. Sacred sexuality lives in my body. It's been the one big driver since I've been 19, 20. I've trained with many teachers and through many modalities, and fused in the Jungian psychology and the psychological astrology, the studies that I'm doing now. Everything along the way has been fused into the sacred sexuality. And why do I think it's so important right now to relaunch this course? Well, number one, you've all been asking me to do that. Number two, I think our world is in a crisis that's calling in the feminine to really come back into her body and own that sacredness that we have. I think we're seeing in the media and in our world that there is a crisis against the feminine. And this is a space where we as women have to step in and say, what's going on? Why is there such abuse against women? What do women have to do in order to, hold that feminine mother matriarchy field as this world collapses? And I don't think it's a negative thing that the world is collapsing. I don't think that what's happening out there isn't needed. Of course it is. We cannot go on as we have been. And I think what all the sacred philosophers have always said all along, that who will save this world and how will it change? It's in the hands of women. That's who. And for me, it's been about how do I reclaim my feminine and help women reclaim their sacred feminine. And the one primordial force that comes up time and time again, and I'm not kidding you, whether I'm doing Jungian psychology, Freudian, looking at Socrates, whether I'm in, my astrological astrology class, it's always connected to sexual life force. That is the foundation for all creation and everything in this world. And it's been so thwarted and so repressed and raped and pillaged that I think us as women got to a point and we walked away from that sacred sexualness because it was too painful, or it caused us so much trauma, or it wasn't allowed. And I want you to think about your story with regards to sexuality. I want you to think in this moment, because we're a collective field here together with this many women. How does sex feel for you? The word sex. How does the word sexuality land in you? Because there's this distortion I find out there that people think when you talk about sex or sexuality, that it's to do with the actual functional, practical part of penetration. And actually, that's the tiniest part of sexuality for a woman. We are sexual beings as women. Our skin, our heart, our womb is a breathing pulse of sexuality. And I said to someone yesterday, go outside in spring and tell me sex isn't everywhere. You tell me sacred sexuality isn't alive in spring when the flowers are coming up and the bees are starting to be active and everything is becoming fertile. That is fundamentally what sacred sexuality is. It's a force of the most sacred divine energy that we all have no clue about, that governs the movement on this earth. The bees, the birds, the rabbits, the flowers, there is a pulse going on in our world that creates a sexual energy that makes creation happens. And we as women who are bound to the moon and the sun and the tides and the earth, we are not separate from that. We're not. So imagine for one moment that, I know some of you are on the opposite hemisphere, you're on the southern hemisphere, but if you're on the opposite hemisphere than us in the northern, then you're experiencing the harvest and the quieting down. But if we're on the northern hemisphere and we've got this aliveness of fertility and life, what does that feel like for you as a woman? Have you for 1 minute really allowed your body to recognize that things are coming to life or that they're going to bed? And I don't care what lineage you're from, where your ancestors are from, but everybody on this call is from an indigenous ancestry. And your indigenous ancestry were worshippers of the cycles of the earth. And your indigenous ancestors were deeply connected to the pulse of the sexual energy that banged through our world. It set a clock, it set a time, it gave women their menstrual cycles, it gave us gestation for when babies are born, when every animal on the planet is born. There is a timing to all of that. And within that pulse of timing is a sacred life force that lives in your body that for some reason, and I don't want to go into the political agendas of this or any of those social or economic agendas, but there is a reason why that was shut down in women. Why? Because it's the most freaking powerful life force on this planet. Shut that down, and we can take control of the earth in the way that we see it now. War, patriarchal society. I'm not blaming men. Patriarchy lives within the feminine body as well. So we see a patriarchal society that is disconnected from natural rhythm, disconnected from life force as sacred, disconnected from sex as a deeply connective, transformative, beautiful, divine interaction to see God in one another. And your body as a woman as a living pulse of the goddess on the earth. So if that hasn't whipped you up already, I hope that I can whip you up much more as we go along. As we come to the PowerPoint, I just want you to gaze upon this image. This is, in fact, one of my favorite images of Venus. It's the birth of Venus. And Trinu said to me today, we need to go to Paris to see the actual like piece of art that's and I agree. I think it's so divine. We've got this real deep innocence of the feminine that's deeply innocent and sexual. Aphrodite Venus is an archetype within psychology that is linked to all women. I'm a Taurus woman, so I'm deeply governed by Venus and Aphrodite. And she is the original spark of sexual energy, and she doesn't care about anything other than the sexual life force that lives within her. And that sexual life force that lives within her creates beauty all around her. She creates beauty, harmony. The bees make love, the flowers grow, the chocolate comes out, the champagne gets popped around Aphrodite. Everything is this pleasurable, lush place. And she loves to consummate. She loves to make love. Her body is in full orgasmic energy all the time because she represents creation. And around her are the cherubs that also represent the symbology of innocence, because our sexuality and the sexual force that lives within our body is primordially pure and innocent. So if you get the chance to look at images like this as a woman, we begin to reclaim that source of sacred femininity. So spend some time after the class looking through images that do it for you, that allow nudity and sexuality and that pure sexual energy of a woman to come through, untainted by the masculine gaze or by the world's gaze, but completely pure and female adult in her safe sexual self. She's very safe there. She's in a state of orgasm in this photograph, and the sea, the unconscious, is consuming her. She is allowed to be free in the nakedness of her body. So, what is sacred sexuality? As we go on to the next slide, I get that question a lot. And actually, you would be surprised at the amount of men that message me and say, what do you mean by sacred sexuality? What is the difference between sexuality and sacredness? Well, I think what for me, having been doing this now for 35 years, I'm a long time in the game, that it's this conscious relationship with your sexual energy. It means that you're not repressing it. And I meet women every day, unfortunately, that are sexually shut down because they think that sexual energy has to involve them making love with a man or with a woman or whoever they choose. Sexual energy is not about that. It is part of it, but it's a life force and an intelligence that lives within your body. And I am absolutely hell bent on my incarnation in this world to allow women to fully experience what it is to allow this sacred sexual energy to come through their body and it not involve anybody else. Not a teacher, not a guru, not a lover, not a friend, nothing. This, for me, is a completely individual experience, and you will never, ever understand the potential of your sexual energy unless you self-explore it, unless it doesn't involve anybody else. The integration of sensuality means that you are connected to your emotions, and we are very emotional as women, but we've repressed that, we've stopped that, we've not allowed that. And it is connected also to your spirit. And as Trinu said, the chat is open for you to be sharing anything that you feel is also connected to sacred sexuality. I'm not the master here. I'm sharing my experience, and you're all women. So I know in some way, shape, or form you've experienced it. So if there's anything you want to add to this sacred sexuality, please feel free to be posting that in the chat and talking amongst yourselves as I go on. But this energy, this emotional intelligence, this sensual intelligence that's fused with your spirit really allows desire to come through. And this is another key area. We as women, and I'm going to pose this question to you all now. How much do you allow your desire? How much do you suppress desire? Has desire been preached to you as a wrong thing? Has the church told you that? Has your father told you that? As men said to you that desire is not right? But desire is guidance in a woman's body. I desire this. And this is all linked into so many other spiritual and psychological concepts. When women don't allow desire, they get very jealous. Jealousy is often fused around desire. We desire something, and because some other woman has it, or man has it, or person has it, we get really jealous because we've not looked at that desire within ourselves. So desire allows us to understand what it is in life we want. And I know in a spiritual realm that women are always talking about soul purpose and service, but you can't know what your soul purpose is and your service is to the world if you have no idea what you desire. Desire is like the bottle of a cork of champagne that once you take the cork out, the champagne's allowed to come out. You are that champagne, you are that exhale that when you acknowledge your desire, that the guidance comes from within you, not anybody else. And when you allow your desire to come through, the emotions, that those feelings, you become a true oracle. And the oracle comes from the womb. We as women get enlightened and individuated, whatever that word is you want to call it, through the womb center, not through the third eye. The third eye root is that of the masculine. The woman has to go to the root, the mother, every single archetypal goddess and feminine that's out there has told us the story over and over and over again that the womb is the place of individuation for a woman, because this is the center of creation. Everything in this world is born of the womb. And this is where, when women come in contact with the womb, that they allow their deep wisdom, their gnosis, their knowing, their desire, all of that can start to awaken. And that does not exclude any of you that does not have a physical womb. You know, I've had an ectopic pregnancy, I have one fallopian tube. It doesn't matter what your physical kind of physiology is, because our womb has a deep intelligence in the other world, in the other realms, and we can connect to that energy. I've got classes on that. So it doesn't mean that if you're not bleeding or if the womb was removed through hysterectomy that you're excluded from this. You're not. You're very much still part of it. And in fact, they say when a womb has had a removal that the healing on an ancestral level couldn't happen in the body and had to happen on a physiological kind of spiritual plane. So your parts are out there whizzing somewhere in the other world. So we can make reconnection with those parts. If the womb has stopped bleeding and you're post-menopause, it does not matter. It's still an active, living spirit in your body. When we get to know the womb, I mean, you can sit with your hand on it, that space right now. I think we as women forget, when I've been in the indigenous populations in Hawaii and in Peru and been with indigenous women, they often sit with their hands on their wombs. And that's because there's a recognition there. My own Egyptian lineage, I found out, you know, in the last 5 years that I'm from an Egyptian lineage through my blood. And that my own grandmother, who did not know she was Egyptian, had her own connection to the womb. She would sit with her hand on her womb. And so ancestrally, we would, as women, hold this space as a form of honoring our deepest wisdom, And it's not performative when we're in the womb. It's very much connected to our inner sacred sexual world and current. And when we start to daily touch that space, so even from this call, if you just begin to daily hold the womb and recognize this as a place that all your ancestors' wisdom lives, all your previous lives, everything is epigenetically stored in your womb space, then you will know that in this space, within the realms of sacred sexuality, there is creativity there is strength there is boundaries there is desire there is eros, there is libido, that everything sits in the womb space and allows you to have an authentic expression and purpose as a woman. It doesn't live up here. Come on, all of us know what up here does. We're in constant loops of self-sabotage. We're constantly overthinking, analyzing, being detrimental to ourselves, holding the voice of our mothers and our fathers and people who've been abusive to us. That doesn't exist down there. That quietens when we go to the womb space. And most women have come into this masculine space in the third eye or in the mind in order to survive, really, in a masculine world, and have overridden the absolute deep gnosis, intuition, instincts that the womb holds. So my manumission is to bring women back to that intuitive, instinctual language that comes from the womb, that doesn't live up here in your thinking function, that drives you all day. And this is the one thing that we as women have in abundance over the masculine principle. The masculine is brilliant at thinking and analyzing, but they don't have the capacity like we do to be in intuition, into knowing, into the psychic realm. And that's why we're so needed as women. But how the hell can the world evolve in the way it needs to when no women are hardly connected to the intelligence of the gnosis of their womb? That's connected to the moon and the rhythms of the earth and the Great Mother. So have a think about that. Have a think about, I was shocked with myself when I started to do this work about how male driven I was in my third eye, how intellectual I was driven, how deeply I'd forgotten the sound of the intuition and the instinct within my womb and that deep inner gnosis that drove me forward. And the more I've anchored into it, the more it's brought me onto purpose. So as we go on to the next slide, there's going to be some inquiry that I'm asking you to take. Some women really are aware that in ancient times, there were temples that held women in devotion. And if you write any word down tonight, write the word devotion down in capital letters. The difference of women who really able to bring through the feminine sacred life force is because they are devoted. Women are devotional by nature. And in a different timeline, there were these temples set up that allowed women the space to be devotional. Look at the modern timeline. We are busy with our children. Like today, I'm trying to do the class and I'm picking up the dog poo and I'm stoking the fire and we've got 1,000,001 jobs to do. But during the times when we were indigenous and we were ancient, the men exalted the goddess and realized that women needed a space to be devotional because society really thrived on women being devotional. So it was a time that women were devotional in the temples to their creation, to their fertility, to their beauty, to the feminine life force that ran through them, through rest, through sacred sexual practices, through the times that they realized that their creative nature was not just childbearing, but creating the village. And the villages in the temple spaces were so beautiful. If anybody's seen images of what ancient Mesopotamia or Babylon or Atlantis meant to look like, They're incredibly beautiful. And why? Look at Greece when you go to Greece and you see those ruins of temples. The Temple of Delphi, where the oracle was incredibly stunning. And the reason is because there's something in the Aphrodite Venus energy in us, in our sacred sexuality, that spurts out roses and beauty and gorgeousness. And that's been part of my own anchoring in my womb, is that wherever I go, in any rented accommodation, in a tent even, that I spill this out of me. I create beauty all around me. I create femininity so that people can feel that when they come into a space. And no matter where I am, and Trina's laughing because she knows we can go to a hotel or we can go in a Bedouin tent, and I will be there getting the roses out and making things look pretty because I want to create an energy of the feminine force field. It's innate in our wombs that we create beautiful space under any conditions and that we devote to this. This allows a sacred sensuality to come out of us, that we create an environment around us, not for anyone else, but for ourselves, but that everybody then else benefits from that. You can't help it. People feel it. So this is one way of allowing the sacredness to come out of the feminine that was part of the ancient temple times. I get really sad now when I go, I'm part of a Buddhist center here and I go to like the ashrams, but the feminine is missing. And there's an article come out, it's so divine timing today in the Daily Mail today about my next venture. And I am landing into a space where I am going to create physical temple. And it already has a woman there, a very famous woman that is already anchoring this beauty in that space. And we're going to add to this. We're going to create an ancient temple there. But all women have the ability to create the ancient temple. Maybe you've got a busy family, but make a room, make a corner that is the ancient temple and devote yourself to that space. That will anchor in so much, I promise you. Just create a beautiful little space you can sit in, and that ancient part of yourself will begin to come through. That's where your life force will be able to feel the ancientness of your past in a devotional space. So I wonder how many of you have a devotional space already? How many of you have made somewhere truly beautiful? I can see some hands going up. So you can write in the chat, please inspire other women in the group and tell us how you've done that. How have you created that beautiful space? Maybe you've done it for the community. Maybe it's a space in your own home or someone else's home. How do you create a devotional, beautiful space that is an anchor for you and your womb to go to every day? I'd really like to know that. So yeah, the ancestral temple, Norma's put in about the ancestral temple. Yeah, feel into your lineage. Where was the temples? My Celtic Druid background and my Irish Scottish side would have been in nature. My Egyptian lineage and my Scottish side would have been in a temple space and in the pyramids and all of those places. So have a feel what lies in your ancestry, because that's even more powerful, and then try to incorporate that in your everyday life. So we'll go beyond the ancient temples, although I'd love to stay there. I know many women that I work with have had very many flashbacks, visions, meditations where they've gone back to those times. It's very prolific in the field of spirituality for a reason. It's a time that we loved and a time where we were really appreciated and appreciated ourselves, to be honest. So let's go on to the next slide. There's going to be some words. I just want to make sure people are familiar with words like eros and libido and sensuality and desire. We will put this PowerPoint in the email to you so you've got this, so you don't miss out on any of the notes. But when we talk about eroticness or eros, I'd love that the modern day world out there is totally like, if you talk about eros, you just see a load of kink or you see a load of like erotic images. But Eros is a living current of life force that draws you toward connection, of beauty and aliveness. I feel like I've always had this eros within me. It's always drawn me to beautiful things. I've felt really alive and the aliveness in the current of the world. And when I work with women that don't feel connection and beauty and an aliveness in them, it's generally because eros is blocked within them, not because they don't have it, because you all have it, but just that it may be blocked and that there may be a reason. So as you look at these words, have a think about your own self. How much is eros in your body? When I was introduced to these concepts through Jungian psychology, I would label them 1 to 10, and I'd be like, how much eros do I feel on a scale of 1 to 10? It would just give me kind of like a signpost in areas that I could inquire in that might felt blocked. So libido is an inner energy of vitality. It makes you feel vital. Vitality happens in the kidneys as well. Like this is a physical place in the body where the kidneys really bring that vital life force through and they bring the drive through for life that fuels your instincts, your creativity, and your psychological life. So if you don't feel very vital, if you feel that your instincts are blocked and that you're not that creative, then it's a libido issue. Sensuality, the ability to feel deeply through the body and receive life through the senses. When I work with women in my courses, one of the foundational practices that I do is literally take them through their senses, the sight, the taste, the hearing, and a lot of my work is involved with that because we forget that sensuality is about being in the body first and foremost. And Trina will tell you this later that I've worked with yoga teachers and trained yoga teachers who think they're embodied. And actually, there's quite a lot of yoga people that are totally not in their body and using yoga to escape the body. There's people I see in some of the most horrific postures that can't feel a thing because they've not gone under the subtle layer of the soma. The soma, the somatic body, should drive us to a feeling that's uncomfortable, to a feeling that's resistant. If we're not in uncomfortable, if we're not in resistance, we're never going to get into the sensuality. We've been looking for bliss. We're pretending to be Buddha, but Buddha was a man. It was a male energy that went straight to the third eye. So it surpassed the body. When we're women, we're looking to go in, we're looking to feel that thing in the yoga that is resistant. We're seeking that because the resistance is the teacher. It allows us to sense the capacity in which we can smell, feel, sense. So a practice that you can do is take yourself somewhere, feel the body, literally feel it, make yourself feel it cold or uncomfortable or too hot. And then go through your senses. Then you're in your body. When you feel a discomfort, you'll definitely be in your body. And then what can you smell? What can you see? What can you touch? That will awaken your sensuality. And then that big word that I shared before, desire, the inner pull towards what is true for you. Every single woman, the hundreds of women that signed up for this call tonight, your desire is different to each and every one of us. We have got different desires. I wonder how many of you could name in the chat one desire that you've got. Whether you're brave enough to say, I want to meet the love of my life. I want to open up a women's center. I want to feel alive again. I want to live more peacefully. Like, how can you claim a desire? It's force in you that reveals what you want. We're so obsessed with what the celebrities and Jenny around the corner or whoever's, whatever they're doing. And then our desires are born in our womb. If we're still enough, if we're quiet enough, the desires will speak to you about what you want, but you need to be still. You need to be still. You need to be quiet. I love it. You're getting witnessed in what you and being brave enough to share and bring it in to be witnessed is already bringing it into matter. We say we can have these things up here, but if we write them down, if we share them, the kidneys throbbing good, yes, there's a block of vitality around this. Just feeling what your desire is, and don't make it aligned with anybody else's. Make it yours, own it, and don't be ashamed of the desire for things that you want. I think women have been shamed so much about desire, about what they want. So as you post those and keep them coming in, if they come in the call, just keep writing them down. I think it's really a field of aliveness that allows you all to just keep sharing and witnessing each other. So some of the terminology is, yeah, Monica, I'm with you. I want to experience more sacred sex too. So yeah, put it out there. If when you put it out there, it's gonna try to find you. So you can go on, Trini, to the next slide. I think we realize that we've all got blocks and we shouldn't be ashamed of that either. When we realize the blocks, like I'm blocked to having sacred sex with someone, come on, exactly. Then we can make an inquiry into why is that blocked? What is blocked there to meet my soul partner? Yeah, like what's blocking me from doing that? And to take ownership of that, that's something in me that's blocked. And actually that really empowers me, because if I know it's me, then I can do something about it. Because if we're caught in victimhood, that it's everybody else, that all the men are bad and the world's a blah, blah, there's nothing you can do about that. So you have to work on your own blocks. What is it in you that blocks you? What do you have to do when you're looking at the desires? Yeah, and the don't wants, great. What do you have to do to stop that? What do you have to do to bring that in? Go to that question. What do I need to do to unblock this? What do I need to do to allow this in or to not allow it in? So it's really important that we as women own our sacred sexuality. And you can add a part at the bottom of this, what else? So this is an open field again for you to share. So sacred sexuality is a woman's life force intelligence. Can you all feel that? I'm going to take you into a practice in a bit, but I want you to feel that in you is this life force, and it's nothing to frigging do with what your head's saying. Let's chop off our heads. Let's literally, like, from the throat chakra up, just like get rid of all of that. And then maybe slice down some and come into the womb where the sacred sexual life force is trying to connect to you daily. Daily. But you know what? You're too much in your head. You're too much thinking. You're too much in projection outward. You're not still enough. You're not devotional enough for this space to speak to you. We can make things really complex in sacred sexuality. It can get right up there in the way that we do practices. Some women in this course have been doing work for me for 9 years. It can be really simple. It can be as simple as getting up, placing your hand on your womb, creating 15 minutes of space to be silent and to listen to that part of you. As a minimum, this will allow the voice of your womb to find you as a minimum. This place, when you allow it to speak, will give you creativity. It will begin to bring clarity to your life, and it will begin to steer direction. I am constantly moving in ways in which my head does not like, or like people know around me that my life's pretty crazy at times. And it's nothing to do with what I think, because if I think, I probably wouldn't make movements or do half the things I do. But I've got this life force that runs through me and directs me into different places. And I listen to it. No matter how crazy that might think, no matter how irrational that is, my next move is back to the UK. My head does not want to go to the UK again. I do not want to be in the UK. But a life force has come through me that has made this movement to create something. And I have to listen to it, even though my head is like, no, 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 no. My womb knows that that's my next move. And that's the problem, because your womb and your head will have completely different answers, completely different. Which one are you going to be led by? And I can choose my mind to say, Colette, sell up, go Costa Rica. That's what my head's saying. But my womb is like, you got to do this. You've got to do this. So when you get in Jungian psychology, we call it the oppositions. It creates a mandala, it creates a yoni, the vesica Pisces. And from within that middle space of the push and pull, it creates a brand new birthing in your world. But you've got to always acknowledge that the womb will say one thing and the mind will say another, and you have to let them two battle out. But most women only get direction from their minds. And then you're in a masculine thinking collective position, and that collective field is screwed, as you know. That's the collective out there. Look at it. Look what's going on in our world. The unconscious space, which is the place where the divine mother is, where the divine is, where the unknown is, lives within the womb. That's where wisdom comes from. Cosmic intelligence, God, life force. So this sexuality, when we allow it, when we allow this life force through our womb, it governs your boundaries. You stop being so poor in your boundaries with people, because without boundaries, you're just in wounds all the time. It allows your voice. It allows a deep sense of self-trust. My womb has her own intellect. She is far more clever than I am. And my ego will try to outwit her all the time, but ultimately my womb knows. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you listening to your mind? Dare you put it in the chat? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you connecting to your womb? How loud is the voice of your womb? Even if on tonight's call, this is all you take away, and you create space to put your hands on your womb, listen to her, come out of the mind, you are living in the realms of sacred sexuality. When we're connected to our body, we're sovereign. That's why I do the 13 Roses course. I go through every single place in a woman's sexual body, and I rip out the wounds that are in there that disconnect you from your physical body, including all sexual parts. And when we do that, the desire starts to come through. Sensuality, your ability to smell, taste, hear, touch in all situations, brings a real warmth and presence about you and an aliveness in your body. And the sexual energy in you begins to be able to flow again. So the thing with embodying sensuality and sexuality, and you can tell this when you've done the work, is women that don't embody it, that perform it, as opposed to women who embody it and there's no performance. With sacred sexuality, there's no need for performance. The act is inner, is inside. Forms that we see out there are for the male gaze, are for the gaze of others. This is why in my sacred sexuality courses, no one ever does anything in front of anyone, ever. Because it's not a performative. And Trina will talk about that too, because Trina had a lot of experience in the neo-tantra world before she came to me. And that neo-tantric world is really governed by masculinity, toxic masculinity, patriarchy, and the need to perform. Sacred sexuality asks you to do nothing in front of anyone. It's done in relation with yourself and the divine, and that is it. And if you choose you will find a connected, loving, devotional partner who you share that with. No group sex, no group masturbation, all of this that we see, that is not sacred sexuality. That is a distorted version of female sacred sexuality. It never happened in the temples. The old ancient teachings never included that. There were women who offered those services to men to train them in sexuality that they weren't in relationship with, but there was never any group performance. So I just want to make that clear if you're thinking of working within the realms of Tantra or sexuality, that whenever you're asked to perform or do it with others, this is a complete break of sacred trust to do with our sexuality. Because a woman has to find this on her own first. So as we go on to the next slide, we're going to look at what is it that has been shut down in women. And again, I'd love you to contribute. Women have shut down their sacred sexuality because, number one, we're disconnected from our body. Think about the amount of shame that's in the field of the feminine body. I mean, it's blowing up at the minute, heroin chic again, skinny, big bone. Like, oh God, the body's such a frigging trend. And body isn't a fashion. It's not a fashion. And we can't blame patriarchy for that. Well, we can, but we are the patriarchy because we self-govern that. We get impacted by diet culture, by the next cosmetic procedure. We've all been influenced by that. There isn't one of us that hasn't here. It's really a conditioning that has made you disconnected. Let's put plastic in, let's put foreign matter in the body, let's change the shape of our ancestry. Let's, and women do this. And I've been working with women recently a lot that have had a lot of surgery and their children don't look like them. And they've got girls growing up with features that aren't like their mothers. This is horrific. But it's meant to disconnect us. It's meant to not make us love ourselves, because the most sacred you can be is saying, God, look at me. I've got this big bump on my nose. God gave me that. Your whole body is God given, and we have no right interfering with that. And who is interfering with that? Who is it? Ask that question. Who sets those trends? Who tells you your breasts are too big, too small? Who tells you your belly is too this, too that? Sexuality has been shaped for women through shame, silence, and control. Every time that you have to spend money, large amounts of money, to make yourself feel better about yourself, you are under the dogma of patriarchy. Women have been taught to please, to perform, and suppress desire, to suppress our desire, to say that I want to make love to this person and this person, or I want to do this. We've been stopped from doing it. We hold our bodies tight. We hold the belly in. We hold the womb in. We brace ourselves. We control ourselves. The breasts can't come out and go long. They can't. They've got to be up there and tight. The belly's got to be flat. What did one of my greatest teachers told me? Look at a woman with a completely flat stomach and I'll show you a woman who's not empowered in her womb. Because wombs take space. Wombs expand. They don't shrivel and go in and shrink. We have been programmed this way, and I'm not apart from all of you here. I'm part of that programming. I hold deep distortions that my mother passed down to me, that magazines passed down to me, that media passed down to me, that celebrities passed down. And being able to get in connection with your sacred sexuality means that you have to be aware of what impacted you and where you're still being controlled by that patriarchal view of women. It means that our body is braced for hypervigilance rather than pleasure. I will work with women who, in lovemaking with their husbands or partners, cannot breathe because they're scared their belly might round or their breasts might go to the side, or that when they're in a bikini, the stretch marks might be seen. And the more perfect women we see, the more we know they're controlled by the patriarchy. No one speaks about that. You look at accounts, I did it with a woman. Look at all the accounts of the women who are showing their stretch marks and they're showing their bodies and they're showing this, how liberating that is, how empowering that is, how releasing that is of that bracing and hypervigilant nervous system. I can't eat today. I've got to hold my belly in. I've got to bring my boobs up here. I've got to make my nose smaller. I've got to. It's a constant state of hypervigilance. So this is shutting women down. Yeah, it's generational shame. Yeah, Tracy, we've learned it from our mothers, and our mothers learned it from their grandmothers, and so on and so forth. And we pass it down to our children. And in my psychology groups now, we're dealing with young girls that are so ashamed of the way they look because they actually look nothing like their mothers have been so beautified that these girls are now looking completely different, and they want to know why they don't look like their family members. Well, their mothers are so modified. This is really having a huge impact on the younger women below us. So this is my call to not be caught up in that field, to own your ancestral features and your body as a Christed, as a sacred connection. We have to know that when we're under that influence, we're not in our womb, we're in this part of our intellect, we're thinking, we're being caught up in the wounds of our self-hatred and our self non-love. It's a non-loving space to be in. And it brings us into that internalized belief around being too much or not enough. I am not gorgeous because I've got a bent nose. I am not desirable because I have a flat chest. Think about what you hold. Can you be honest with yourself? Will you shut down yourself because you believe that you've got internalized beliefs that you're not enough? So, what shut yours down? Because this will shut your sacred sexual self down. It's so sad that me and Trina were saying, when I share images of the Venus of Willendorf, or those women that are very much known in the Neolithic era of being the feminine that people honored, that women get really touchy about it. She's overweight, she's fat, she's this, she's that, and they get really triggered by those images. But Trinu, can you just share the article you read about the women in the past compared to us in a body sense, then when those women were really adored by people? Tell us about the strength that those women had.
Yeah. So I had a look into it and I got really curious. So when the Venus of Willendorf came out thousands of years ago, how did the women look like? What did they do? And yeah, they were big. And the bigness was their strength because every person, every woman back then, which was really shocking for me, was stronger than current day elite sportsmen. Their lives were all about movement, grinding down, uh, doing physical things. So their bone density, jaw density, they were absolutely incredibly strong. And small bodies don't, you need strength and density to hold that. Yeah, very interesting.
Really interesting, stronger than pro athletic men nowadays. That's crazy. And that also comes with a whole line of no menopausal symptoms, no illnesses, all of that. The strength was what kept them vital and alive. And I said to Trina, it's so saying, isn't it? Now we've come from a diet kind of culture to women who struggle with menopause and cancers and endocrine problems and immune system problems. Are we surprised when we've starved ourselves and treated our bodies in such a way? They were working the land monarchy, yes, exactly. They were physically strong. And I know that that leads to, it's been proved in modern day science now, the more muscle density we have, the longer we live, the thick lives save that thick thigh saves lives is true. The thicker your thighs, the more healthy you are. And it's been proved in recent research. So, yeah, we've been kept small. We've wasted away our muscles, all this GLP-1 stuff that's going on. Women are losing all their muscle mass. We're going to go for another crisis, of course. And we will keep going from crisis to crisis until women love themselves for what they are. And this shuts down any form of sacred sexuality. So the next slide, think about that in your own world where you've been conditioned. Don't do it in a mean way to yourself, but really try to be honest. I think this leads perfectly to why the world is showing us that it must change. It must change. It cannot go on. So as much as it's so difficult for a lot of people, me included, it's so challenging to live in today's times, but it can't go on the way it was. Women that I work with daily and in my groups are burnt out from over giving and over functioning. I know women in the course here tonight have been in my courses, and you'll know who I'm speaking to. You're suffering from autoimmune problems, you've had constant sickness and all of that. And it's because of this. You're burnt out. This was never the way we were meant to live. I'm one of those. I overfunction. I find it really hard. I'm getting better now. I'm heading towards 50 to slow and rest a little. But until I've got close to 50, I've just never thought that that was the way it should be. I've been overfunctioning. The feminine must realize that it's important to rest. It's important to nourish, not to deprive. We've been in deprivation. I mean, all my yoga years, I can tell you how many bloody fads I was on. I don't do that anymore. I'd never go into these juicing and all of this crazy stuff that was really about control and deprivation. I try now to try to be strong and eat really well because I know if I'm going to be healthy, I'm hitting 50 with no health issues. And I'm doing that because I'm nourishing now. I am focusing more on nourishment and strength. So that's giving me a desire really to return to my body and my real feelings. What does it feel like to be full? When was the last time you as a woman ate a large meal and felt full? How did that make you feel? What did it bring up? How did you feel when you ate a cream cake, really? Yeah, Tracy, I used to know what calorie count was in every food. I feel you. Like that 90s period was so damaging. And look at the women from that 90s period now, they're really suffering, really suffering. They weren't bothered about the sacred sexuality or their desires or their life force. They were just so worried about what they were eating. And now it's like whether they're getting enough filler or whether the breasts are big enough, or like the whole thing has always changed to repress us as women. But we must change lots of things, that over functioning, coming back to our bodies, loving our bodies for what they are. Relationships that do not ask you to self-abandon. This is another big thing I see in my world. Women self-abandon themselves to fit into bloody toxic relationships, or relationships that do not exalt the sacred feminine, relationships that take from them rather than give to them, relationships that they're constantly chasing. Whenever you're chasing or pursuing in a relationship, you are in a dysfunctional relationship. The feminine is pursued. The feminine is given to. The feminine is nourished. The feminine is met. If you are over functioning, chasing somebody or over mothering someone, you're in a masculine patriarchal energy. We have to change this. We can't be blaming men when our behavior is feeding those toxic men and those toxic situations around masculinity. We have to own that. And we have a lot of work to do in that area. Yeah, I'm included in that circle. Women seeking depth rather than that trauma bond or that trauma surface level empowerment. We're looking for depth in men, in friendships, in circles, in all areas of our life. We're looking for depth. A shift from mind level, which I started off the call with, to body led wisdom. And a feminine rising as a force of creation, not adaptation. We are not to adapt to this sick culture. Please, please stop trying to adapt to sick, toxic people. Please stop trying to adapt to a sick culture that's telling you to change yourself in these ways we've spoke about tonight. Society is sick. And the more aligned you are with the things that are going on, mainstream things in society, the more you're bought into the sick. Long for what the masses aren't doing. If the masses are doing it and agreeing with it, stay away with it. Stay away from it. The minority always is that group that's more deep, that's more divinely connected. Stay away from mass movements. If you see it in the news and everyone rambling on about it, back out, back out. And know that there's something deeper available. And I've said this all week. I don't want to bring the TRUMP word into this call because it seems he's in every kind of situation. But if that's your focus at the minute, back up, and know that deeper conversations are available. Yeah. Focus on the deeper, focus on the change, focus on you as the change, focus on the new society, focus on what will change this world, not what's poisoning it. Because you're just caught up in a rhetoric that is trying to disempower people and divide people. So the next slide, because I want to get us to our meditation. I knew this would be about an hour and a half, about 90 minutes, the class, rather than an hour, is to introduce you to Trinu. I've got the privilege of having so many amazing women on this calls that I work with in my containers, in my druidry containers, in my sacred sexuality containers, in my goddess book clubs. And Trinu has been one of a long-term client, and she has been involved in sacred sexuality for as long as I've known her, and way before me, because she was in a lot of the tantra work pre doing my sacred sexuality work. So Trinu is going to be lead teacher within the Sacred Rose Temple as my movement goes to do some more land-based work. She's going to be holding the what do you call it, the digital space for me, and obviously doing retreats when we get the space. And the other women in the group I'll introduce you to. But I just want Trinu to tell me a little bit about what the sacred sexuality work has done for you as a woman and why you were led to it.
Yeah, thank you. Um, I was led to it honestly because at one point, I realized I was so repressed. I was so repressed in my relationship, not by the other person consciously, but more like how I am engaging with him and in my whole world. Like, what do I want? What's my soul purpose? Everything, all of that, like all of it landed. And yeah, I got into a tantric movement accidentally, and that really spoke to me back then. And there was always this part. I was part in traditional tantra and also very much female led, which is much more newer. There's lots of female teachers nowadays. And they all said, yeah, tantra is 98%, 2% sex and 98% something else. But wherever it led to, it was always sex. And yes, we do need sex education in the society. We definitely do. And we don't know the functionality and how to do it. There's a lot to like learn. But yeah, like what has really struck me now with this work is what you also talked about earlier. Like when we talk about sexuality, it is the life force. And this is the way how we create life. It's all about, it's very mundial, but very, very sacred at the same time. It's very much about like everyday your own practice. It's how you speak to people, how you don't express yourself, how you shut up, how you allow your boundaries to be crossed and be like in this a bit weird space where you don't feel completely okay, but then it doesn't feel right either. So yeah, this work has really, really nailed me. So I did this 13 rows course for 3 times actually, because every time it was just so much deepening into myself of who I am, what do I want, how do I actually speak to people. I was first time ever to challenge a racist relative in a family situation, which was totally like no for me before because I like to keep peace as well. So these kind of little things have been really, really changing. And also like what has been blocking, like how do I play part of that? How am I jealous of other women? That has come so much up. And why is that so why don't I connect with my desires? So yeah, that's very shortly what it has changed for me. It's really small steps, but incredibly deep and incredibly practical.
Yeah, and I've witnessed Trina really change as a person from this very, very quiet girl, really quiet, really reserved, really held back, to a woman that's
Mm.
beginning to speak out, realizing what's held her back, realizing that her relationships were dysfunctional, that she was enmeshed with her mother, that she needed to move away. And she's really, really grown. And I always say, you can tell when someone's grown because they realize how screwed up they are. We get to the point in the Jungian work where you're like, wow, like I really didn't know who I was or what I was about. So she's there. But Trini also does my marketing. She's an amazing because she's done the work. She knows how to translate language properly. So she's the owner of Meaningful Marketing. And I get her to do a lot of work for me and obviously host my calls. And yeah, just honoring that the 3 times that she's done this isn't easy. It's a 13-month course, the 13 roses, and she's done it 3 times. The final time she did it was a teacher training. We've got Michelle Ten Klooster, who's in the call. She's a chiropractor in Holland, an amazing chiropractor who did the course and is fusing what she's learned with her own clinical base and creating a body of work. And Tracy, who's been in the call, her daughter Ria studied as a sacred 13 Roses teacher as well. So there's people in the group that have done the work. I think Norma's done some of the sacred sexual course as well. So it really does change our connection with ourselves and actually with other people. But it's not just that sexual things, it's how we show up in the world, how we speak out, and we're constantly learning about ourselves. So, any of those women who are on the call, like Michelle's a really dear part of the team as well. She's one of the women that are really, she's really killing it in her field as well. And there's just deep respect for the women that I see that are doing this work and really taking this work seriously because they feel that they're catalysts for change in this world and that they really want to connect to women to bring them into the body and to into the healing. So was that it, Trina? Is that everything you wanted to say? Okay,
Yeah,
so
like
I
I
want to take you
absolutely
in.
feel, yeah.
So if anybody's got any questions, Trina's always willing to answer them and share your experience. I'm sure Michelle is here as well. So the details will be on the website and you can connect to them. It's really nice to speak to women that have gone through the process and obviously what they both offer as individuals as well. I really recommend the women that have gone through grueling. I know Michelle's done womb magic as well. So Trina, there's been like a 3-year graduate course that they've done. So deep, intense work. And Michelle Hunt as well. She's done the recent womb alchemy course. So there's a few of you that have been working within the field. So I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes. And what I wanted to do for this slide was get an image of a yoni, just a rose yoni that was doing some like psychedelic stuff. But do you know what? Amongst the world where child trafficking and all of this is normal, I could not find anywhere that would allow me to animate a yoni because apparently it's just not allowed. And Trini will tell you this now with our marketing. It's got really difficult. I can't put cherubs or anything. It just doesn't allow us to do anything because it's been the feminine, I think, is being more, but yet you can go on and find horrible pornographic images wherever you want. But you can't find these classic art, can't do anything with classic art. Crazy. Anyway, just closing your eyes, and I want you to place your hands onto your womb, and I'd like you to really allow that womb space to expand. Let the belly, let it pool over your knickers, let it round, stop holding it back, and just take a big deep exhalation into the womb space. What's it like to be in your body? Have a little wiggle of your toes and feel your ankles and your shins and your calves and your knees. Maybe touch them. Some days I'm like, wow, I've not even felt my feet all day. Touch them. Feel all that energy in your legs and in your hips, in your buttocks, in your belly, in your rib cage and in your heart. Move your shoulders and your neck and your arms, and feel free to move during this meditation. Male meditation is stillness to bliss, to leave the body. When we do womb work, sacred sexuality, it's to be in the body, not to bypass it. So as you close your eyes and you try to experience your body not as an idea, but as something that you're living and breathing in, feel free to move any parts that are just asking you to acknowledge them a little bit more. Do a little scan, notice in the body where's feeling left out, unacknowledged, unseen. And as you exhale, just feel the weight of your body. Allow your weight. Let's stop disappearing and being light. Let's be heavy. Let's take up the space. Let's take up a field of physical, spiritual, soulful presence. Let your breath begin to deepen slowly at first, fuller and richer, allowing each inhale to go deeper, each inhale to expand you, to take up that extra space. Let the belly soften, the womb soften. Let yourself be seen by you. Let yourself be felt. Let the body feel like you're inhibiting it. And as you breathe, just know there's nothing here that needs to be shaped or managed. This is you returning to yourself. And just feel that you returning to yourself, especially if you've got family and children and responsibilities. Just feel like every breath is pulling you back from everything you're responsible for. All the problems that are going on in your life, all the responsibilities, the woes, the worries. Feel like every inhalation is breathing you back to yourself. You are giving yourself a big shout out, come home, come back here. And feel the white light, that beautiful divine light. Purify all that energy as it comes in. Let it cast off anything that is not connected to you nor should be connected to you. Let responsibility be left outside the auric field. This is a time where you need to not hold anything or think of anything. You're just allowing yourself with every breath to come back to yourself. And as all parts of you come back, as the white light and the circle around you of light filters all energies, everything that is too heavy to carry right now, but brings a lightness into the weight of your body. Feel yourself breathing that down into the womb space. Feel your hands very gently on the surface of your skin where the womb is, trying to trace an energy that's inside the skin. Whether the womb is there or was there is not relevant, rather the energy of the womb. Try to feel the energy of the womb. Whenever a womb has been removed, it lives in that liminal space, and you can quickly call it back in to the energy field of your body. If you hold a physical womb, just sense it. As you breathe, you might begin to notice sensation. Maybe there is numbness there as well. This is allowed. If the womb feels solid, abstract, so it's not to judge, but to sense. You might notice tension, numbness, resistance, maybe a subtle energy stirring. Whatever's here, stay with it. Let go of trying to witness and feel the womb in any perfect imagined state that you have. Rather, allow her to meet you in exact presence that she is in. And stay with it and stay with yourself. Because somewhere there, whether you feel it intensely or not, despite everything you've learned and everything that has been conditioned in you, there is something very ancient here. There is a memory in your body of a time when this energy was alive, when this energy was worshipped. A time when women were not separate from their bodies, not separate from their sensuality or their life force. Time when feminine body was understood as sacred, part of creation, an essential part of creation, an intelligence of life itself. You need no lessons here because your body remembers. And as you begin to breathe more deeply into this space, the breath is becoming more fuller and more intentional. And the breath brings with it to this womb space a warmth. You can track that as a heat or a glow or a presence. Just allowing it to gather as it wishes, allowing for it to return. And let the body respond to this presence returning. Maybe a small movement in the pelvis. You could gently rock. You might rub the hands on the womb. Nothing too exaggerated, just some small movements so that your body understands what it's receiving, so that the womb energy, the life force, can acknowledge itself and tell your body, I am here, I am listening, I am available, I have returned. And keep breathing. Let this warmth or sensation grow. Let it spread through the belly, the hips, the base of the spine. Acknowledge this as your life force, as sacred sexual energy. Your mind can't know this, but your body can sense it and feel it. Let this energy gather, let it expand and grow. Your sacred sexual energy has always been yours. It's always been there. Now, as you exhale, just allow a sound to come, maybe a sigh, a hum, a tone that moves through you. Any sound that you make here is a sign for your body that this is moving through you. Notice what your body wants to do. Notice the sound your body wants to make. And use this as a marker of the sacred sexual energy that lives within you. And again, breathe deeply and exhale with that sound. Tell your body, this is the sound of my sacred sexual energy as it moves through my body. Feel how the sound awakens something. Feel how the body begins to open and to respond to this coming alive in you. And allow that energy to rise. Let that sacred life force rise from the womb into the heart. Feel your chest, feel your breath, feel your capacity to feel. And let the energy move from the heart to your throat, into your voice, into your expression. The womb, the heart, the throat is being activated by this life force. You may wish to make the sound again. And now you feel your whole body. Your whole body is a living, breathing current of this energy. It's not outside of you. It doesn't depend on anything outside of you. It's something within you that has always been there. It is the most primordial and ancient part of you. Acknowledge that this is an energy that has been repressed, quietened, controlled, and yet it still remains. And it responds the moment that you turn toward it. That's all it needs, is for you to turn toward it. Quietly say within your own self, turning toward that energy, my body is alive. My life force moves through me. I am connected to this that is ancient. I am safe to feel. I am safe to open. I am returning to myself. Take a deep breath and let your body take it all in. Let your body feel this ancient moving inside of you, this primordial, God-given life force. Even if this is just the beginning, even if this has been a longer journey for you, be aware of this. Stay with one more breath. Allow the energy to claim you. Allow the energy to feel like it's integrating within every single cell of your body. You may again make the sound as you acknowledge this. Just spend a moment just allowing it to seep through your bones, your blood, your breath. This is the very thing we have been speaking about tonight, not a concept, an idea, or something outside of you, but an ancient part of you. That in this time in our collective is being ready to be birthed into our world. Just give thanks to yourself, the goddess that lives within you. You are a representation of the goddess. And however that force wants to express itself in your life, in your world, is completely up to you. But just give it the freedom tonight and the acknowledgement that it's time. It did. And then when you're ready, start to bring all that energy. Let's try to keep the internet connection as you do that. Bring all that sacred sexual life force energy back into the room with you as you open your eyes and you return back to our circle, to our space together, just feeling us all as women rising in this energy and this remembering of this most ancient part of us. And just hold it there as we move on to the final part of our call, is just to know that this call for me was absolutely necessary. I felt in the time that we're in to be really guided into offering this to women, this activation, and just this remembering, this basic remembering of what it's like to live in our sacred sexuality. And really offering another container wasn't on my schedule at all, as I do a deep move and go to make more of a land-based approach to my teachings. But it felt very necessary to reopen the 13 roses and offer it at, a more available cost and to a wider audience, really. So I am opening up a new 13-month container that will have a monthly call with me in it, and you will get a deep PDF. The PDF is pages and pages of practice for that month. There's also going to be a weekly share, a space that you share in daily if you need it weekly. And Trina and I will be commenting on the posts that you make in there, trying to get you deeper into it, sharing our experiences and things that you might want to consider and think about more. And then Trina will be holding the call, another call. So you'll get 2 calls a month. So Trina will be holding a discussion group between you where you will all talk about what you're going through and what the practice is bringing you through. So this is a course that's really honestly only for women that really want to go in deep, like really want to go in very deeply to the sacred sexual self and pull up. Norma's commented that, yeah, it brought up a lot of sexual trauma for Norma and things that she needed to work on and work with. And it does do that, but its process is to heal that. It needs to bring it up so that it can be healed and allow for your full vital force. And when your sacred life force comes through, your purpose in life comes through. You stop playing small. We're all playing so small. I couldn't believe when I've been given this next opportunity how big it was. And they were like, this is you. Like we just make ourselves so small into what we're capable of holding and doing. And that goes for all women. I just don't think we're fully aware of our greatness. And it's the healing process that allows that vital life force to come out more and more and more so that we're eventually truly living what we desire and our purpose here. Because the desire force is that of our creator. The creator has the greatest desire for you to come in and change the world as we see it. So the 13-month course will be opening on May the 4th. And if you sign up with the link, we've got some little, Trina will tell you some more about that soon, but we'll also include the link in the emails that you sent out after this call. So the last slide, I think, is connected to, I forget until I see it, what's in that 13-month course. People often say, like, what do we work through? Well, it's very embodied. I'm primarily a somatic practitioner, and we work through the physical aspects of the body. This is how we get back in our body. So we work with these 13 places, which is the breast, the mound of Venus, the outer lips of the labia, the inner lips, the clitoris. We work with the amrita, the women's waters, the gateway of our yoni, the walls of our yoni, the God spot, the G spot, the holy crown, which is the cervix, the ovaries, the tubes of time, which is the fallopian tubes. And actually, I will tell a story that things happen to women in these as well. Like during the tubes of time, I actually had my fallopian tube removed. And I had women that have done the cervix, and cervix things have come up, they've healed, conditions on the cervix, or cervix conditions have come up. So there's a lot of real physical clearing happens as we do that. People are often shocked at what comes up to get healed when we're going through these. It's profound, and it's not like I received this body of work. I received this body of work in Hawaii, and I kept it very quiet, and I sat on it for a long time until I felt I was ready to write it up. And during the process of writing, I went through a huge process. I actually lost a child. And then during that, the fallopian tube happened. And so, yeah, it was a deep clearing. And women who do it do some of the deepest work I've seen, really, really do. So it allows that vital life force to make its way through the body to do greater things with, to come into soul purpose, to come into the desired life path that the force wants you to live. So that's an overview. But on my website, if you go to the 13 courses, you can actually download the PDF that shares in detail what each of those months are about. And it is 13 months. I think 13 months is super important number to do. It's so obvious in our modern world that women are no longer devoting. They can't stick to things. They do 7 weeks, and that isn't devotional. The women has been proven in devotional space were minimum of 13 months to devote to any form of healing. My own healing with the Jungian work, I had to commit to 4 years, 1 year in each of the alchemical stages. So this really asks for a devotion, and many people can't devote to it. It's big, and I think that is one of the biggest things that's missing within the archetypal world. We talk about it a lot in the Jungian work, that women were devotional and really seen things through over a long time, and that's become less and less. So I always run a 13-month course every year, and I get the most devotional women doing it because they stick to it. And I think, Michelle, you did your first 13-month course. You're just completing month 13. Can you tell me how that feels for you, like what that did to you as a woman that hasn't done a 13-month course before?
It was life changing, absolutely life changing. So this is the last month we're doing, and the person I am here now is totally different to the person that I started with completely. As an individual, I've changed, but my life changed as well. I quit my job, didn't go back because it was no longer what I needed. my whole family situation got turned upside down. I've been a year now with no bleed, so I've gone into post-menopause, which is huge. I had my last bleed on the first month of this course, the womb alchemy course. It's just life changing course.
It's mind blowing when you devote to a devotional course what actually happens, isn't it? That no bleed, and then it's crazy. I'm never, ever, ever not awestruck by what happens to women in these courses. Really, the stuff that comes up, the changes in the family and in the body itself is huge. So nothing shocks me in the containers. It all comes up, and women often get lots of complaints in their body, but I always know that there's a healing happens. It comes up to heal. So yeah, you are a really, you've really, me and Trina said the other day, like, you've been astounding. Like, that what you've done in 13 months is truly incredible. And it's not easy, Michelle, is it, to stick to the 13 months? It's easy to want to bail out, isn't it? When the going gets tough, it's easy to say, I want to get out of this because it's uncomfortable, because you're forced to face things that you don't want. And what I find is when women bail out, they loop in the same thing that they want to avoid. And Michelle was at a point where it was touch and go. We were like, there was buttons I had to press with Michelle, and she stuck. And I'm so glad she did, because that was the shadow comes and we want to leave. And she went beyond the shadow. She went beyond it. She took the triggers. She took it all. And that's when she transformed. And I was praying, it's not my call. You stay or you go. I'm not in control of that. And when she stayed, that I knew was the point in which her life was about to change. And so it did. Can you tell me about that resistance, Michelle?
Oh, at times I really didn't like you, Claire. Because
Part of the job.
Yeah, because you did press my buttons a lot, because I had to face things I didn't want to face at a time where my world has completely turned upside down and inside out. But all of that was needed. Everything that happened was needed for me to grow into the person that I'm becoming. And you had to point out certain things that I really didn't want to face, but I had to face. And although I didn't want to do the work at times, I knew deep down that I had to stay if I wanted to change, and I wasn't going to go back into having any of that happen to me again.
Yeah.
So I had to work through it.
Yeah. I mean, I have to go through the same with my analyst. I always leave my session with him and say, love you, hate you. That's my little saying that I say. Because if that's not being triggered, if that isn't happening, you're in a pat your back, comfy situation where you're never going to transform. We can have women's circles to get compassion and love and care. It's not that it's not part of my circle, but for me, transformation is my ultimate goal. And being trained in the Jungian work means that we do have to poke sores, unfortunately. And those wounds are the very things that keep women back. And women who don't go into those wounds, who bail out and run away from them, like I say, often caught up in loops and loops and loops. And at the point that this happened for you, what would have happened if you bailed out? You would have been in that loop, and you wouldn't have changed what you changed. So I wanted to say that on this call, because it's so vital. If you're in any other container, honestly, I don't care whether you do my courses or not, but if you're in containers where it's only nice, you're not going to transform. Transformation happens, like I said, in the resistance, in the discomfort, in the unease. Yoga teaches us that. I've been a yoga teacher for 30 years. I know that no transformation happened in feeling nice in an asana. Actually, it's the opposite, in where the resistance met my body, took me into the deeper layers of the psyche and the emotion and the spirit. And that's what happens in these courses. To get underneath, we have to face the monster that lives within us and the very thing that holds us back. So keep that in mind in devotional spaces, that when the ego wants to run away, it's generally a space that is actually going to be changing for you and transformative. And if you can pull back, like Michelle said, the hatred of me, it's not really about me, it's about what that brings up, then you can make deep transformations. And this is for those of you that know that there's things in your body, sexual trauma, things that have happened to you sexually as a woman. It happens in the containers, you will see it, that this is the hardest thing to face. It's really, really, really frigging painful. And it needs to be gone to be healed, like a wound. If there's an infected wound, you've got to get down to the infection to get it out. You can't leave the infection in there or it never heals. And so that's the same with any psycho-spiritual work, not just spiritual work, but I don't believe that you can just do spiritual work and sit on the edge of comfort and nice and happiness. I think there's a whole world of bypassing out there. And if spirituality is as prevalent as it is, and there's not as much transformation as we need in the world, then something's not going right. Something's not going right. So I'm really wishing you all massive amounts of change, even from this call, that I ask all of you, if nothing else, even from connecting daily after this call to your womb and to your sacred sexual self, that you have some stronger boundaries with people in life. This is all that I've brought up from discussions within the psychology and spirituality and astrological psychology I've been studying at the moment, what's really needed for the feminine to change and the world to change, for women to have stronger boundaries and self-respect, not to be chasing anything, to be allowing things to come to you. The rose doesn't start shouting in the garden for the bee to come or run after the bee. The bee is magnetized to the rose. That's how anything that's meant to come to you will come to you, through magnetism. And magnetism happens when we start to work on the sexual self, to have a clearer voice and expression. Even if you're not right, it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. People will tell you that in my groups. Whether you're right or wrong is irrelevant. It's speaking out from a voice and expression. Having a deeper connection to your body and your womb. When your desire can become your guidance, you don't limit your desire. When you have increased confidence and magnetism, that's that thing where things come to you. Release of shame and self-doubt. So look into where you hold shame and where you doubt yourself. Regulation of your nervous system. How do you soften your nervous system daily as a woman? We're all dysregulated. We all are seeking regulation. Do you do that consciously? And how do you do that? I often get people to share in my groups how they regulate daily their nervous system. This is how women get very sick. We see a lot of autoimmune because women haven't been regulating their nervous system. So regulation of the nervous system is essential for all of us. How you activate your creative life force. Are you doing things that are creative? And then a sense of coming home to yourself. And that question, that point, can be really thought about. What does it mean to come home to myself? So big questions. We will make sure that this PowerPoint comes on an email to you, and that the video gets emailed to you, so you've got this as reference. But let's just end by placing our hands on our wombs, coming together as a circle and a force field of women, and truly believing that change in our world is possible, because we hold that change within us. And we are worthy. We are desiring, we are creative. And we are an erotic life force that this world so needs. And blessings and much love to you all. Until next time.
Thank you, everybody, for joining our masterclass on activating the 13 roses. It's so, so beautiful to have witnessed you and having you all here. So absolutely, those of you who feel the call, you are more than warmly welcome to join us on the 30-month Rose journey. And those of you who wish to sign up in the next 24 hours, you will receive a gift. And that gift is actually 4 masterclasses about animus, which is our masculine side, libido, eros, and anima, which is the feminine side of ourselves. So it's every masterclass is at least an hour and a half, and there is a workbook and questioning, and it's made very, very practical how these energies move through us. It goes fabulously together with our 13 Rose courses. So it would be absolutely lovely to see you there in our 13 Rose journey if you feel the call, and if not, we will absolutely meet on this path of roses and sacred sexuality. So yes, as Colette said, this video will be sent to you by email, and you will receive the link to it, and you will also receive the PowerPoint to this session. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining again, whether you were live or via recording. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.